Let's talk about down payment assistance programs for a minute. My name is Brent Hammonds. I'm an associate broker and real estate agent with HomeSmart Real Estate. I've been selling residential real estate in the Valley since 2002, so we're creeping up on 25 years. And I get a lot of questions about down payment assistance programs, and there's a lot of mistaken beliefs, myths, and misinformation floating out there about down payment assistance programs. If you're looking to buy a home right now, but are sort of holding back because you don't want to completely drain your savings accounts or your 401k, there is a solution. And there are really a lot of myths and inaccurate information out there about down payment assistance programs and how they work. And the truth is, not all of these are built the same, and most people are completely misinformed about how to use them strategically and to their advantage. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of these myths. Myth number one, that you have to be cash strapped, broke, no money, in order to be able to utilize these programs to purchase a house. Well, let's break that one down for a minute. The idea that you have to be broke in order to get this assistance, that's just plain not true. The fact is, high earning, high liquid, plenty of reserves, plenty of money in the bank, buyers can qualify for this tomorrow. The Home Plus program here in Arizona, Maricopa County, has a statewide income cap of $155,386 for a family cap. And it imposes absolutely no asset test. And what I mean when I say asset test is they don't care about how much money you have in the bank, how much money you have in your 401k, your retirement investments. None of that matters. You could have 20, 30, 50, $100,000, $1,000,000 squirreled away, and doesn't matter. It's not applicable to the program. They are not forcing you to wipe out your personal savings or your 401k or retirement stuff in order to buy a house. So a lot of people aren't aware of that. They assume that you have to be broke in order to be able to even apply and qualify for this program. Not true. Myth number two, that the down payment assistance money covers all of your costs to buy a house. Not quite true, but it's close. Myth number two is the assumption that using down payment assistance magically wipes out any financial obligation for the buyer at the closing table. It doesn't completely do that. These programs are designed to cover your core down payment obligation. And for FHA loans, that's typically 3.5% of the sales price of the house. But you are still entirely on the hook for about 2 to 3% of the sales price in what's called escrow fees, title insurance, and lender prepaid fees, HOA prepaids, that kind of stuff. To completely zero this out on your side, you have to execute sort of a second step in this strategy. First step, securing the down payment assistance. Second step, negotiating seller concessions. Negotiating to get the seller to contribute towards your closing costs. And this is where a seasoned real estate agent really comes into play. And we'll get more into that in a second. Myth number three, that this is sort of a welfare plan program, that the only people that are available are in destitute. And it's really exactly the opposite. These are institutional loan products that are designed for capital preservation, which is a fancy way of saying the banks create this product with the sole goal and intent and purpose for you not have to spend your savings or dip into your retirement assets in order to purchase a house. They allow you to leave your cash, your investments, your 401k completely untouched while you get to acquire a brand new house. Think of it as a strategic trade, because there's no free lunch in the world, right? We all sort of know that. But all you do here is pay a slightly higher mortgage rate than you would normally qualify for. And that's sort of the trade-off. But when we start to, I'm going to do some math in a minute, and you're going to see the difference, and you'll see why that little slight uptick in payment and interest rate doesn't touch what you're saving and not having to spend to bring to the table, right? Let's move on to the plumbing of all this, the numbers, right? So let's do an example here. This is a typical $400,000 purchase using an FHA loan to finance that purpose. And you'll see the first column, financial component, what the buyer's required to bring to the table or have in order to purchase. The center, the standard FHA, sort of what they require from a down payment standpoint, and our sort of strategic 1-2 punch with the down payment assistance program and negotiating seller concessions towards buyers' closing costs, if you look at it that way, right? Okay, so $400,000 house, typical down payment runs $14,000. With the down payment assistance program, that's covered by that program. You are no longer required to bring that $14,000 to the closing table. And these are estimates on the closing costs. Please don't hold me to the penny here. We just did round numbers kind of thing for example purposes. So closing costs are prepaid, standard FHA loan for a $400,000 house, about $10,000 bucks. There can be some variations there. With this strategy, we're going to get the seller to cover that for us by asking for additional contributions and concessions from them. So, cash needed to close in a standard FHA loan without using the down payment assistance program or without negotiating closing cost contributions from the seller, you're out of pocket $24,000, right? But with the down payment assistance program, those two costs, especially if we can negotiate the extra concessions from the seller, is zero out of pocket, which is ideal, right? Perfect if you can make it work. The value of this liquidity, okay, that $24,000 stays in your bank account, which instead of bringing it to the closing table and then sort of parking it in the equity in your home, right out of the chute, right on day one, it's in there. And equity is great, but it's conceptual. You really don't have control over equity. Equity could go up, go down. You could wake up one morning and you've lost equity in your house. You can wake up one morning and you've gained equity in your house, right? Very little control from the consumer side of things. Here you get to keep your money liquid. And with that capital, you can use it for all kinds of different purposes, right? Maybe the house needs a little upgrading when you move in. Maybe it needs a coat of paint, some new flooring. Now you've got the funds, or you didn't have to spend it to buy it. Now you can use it for those kind of things. Emergency fund, or right back into an investment. Or just leave it where it's parked. You don't even, right? Never touch it, it just stays there, right? It's great. The mechanics. Here's where we get into the no free lunch piece of all this. There is a little trade-off because DPA loans typically carry an interest rate of somewhere between 0.5% and 1% higher than standard market rates. So you sort of trade off there, a little bit higher monthly payment for being able to immediately save your $24,000, as we use in this example, and not have to spend that. And for some people, that trade-off is very, very attractive. There is a soft second lien on the property, 0 interest rate. There's no payment on a second mortgage or anything weird like that, and is completely forgiven with 3 to 5 years after occupancy, depending on which down payment assistance program you use. There are actually models out there where there is no sort of penalty period, for lack of a better way to put that. No occupancy requirements. You could refinance it 6 months later and be fine without any penalty or anything weird like that. The 3 to 5 years is just for this particular down payment assistance program. And this FHA does have a concession or a contribution limit. Sellers are only allowed to contribute up to 6% of the sales price of the house. So that's where we sort of got the number of 24 grand. By asking the seller for a 6% contribution and towards your closing costs, towards buyer's closing costs, which is allowable by both FHA and all the banks. It's in their guidelines, right? I'm in the middle of a transaction right now where we did exactly this. It's part of the reason I'm doing this video was because I'm in the middle of doing this with a buyer right now on a house price slightly higher than this, 480. And we were able to negotiate 6% concessions. And we're getting geared up to close, and the buyers couldn't be happier. They get to save. They don't have to touch their 401k, touch their savings account. It's a beautiful thing for them. So just understand the mechanics of this. You're going to pay a little bit higher interest rate, and you're in the home for at least 3 to 5 years without any penalty, anything weird. But after that, you can do whatever you want. And there is a cap on FHA loans. They will only allow 6% seller contributions towards buyers' closing costs. So, if this is something you're interested in, it's a pretty easy 4-step plan. First, we want to review your situation to make sure your credit and income fit the criteria for the Home Plus program. Then we get you connected with a local lender, and I've been around a long time. I've got several folks that are really good at this kind of thing, to secure an approval for the specific down payment assistance and FHA structure that best fits your situation. Because as I said in the very beginning, they're not all built the same. And then we structure an offer asking for somewhere between 5 and 6% of closing costs contributed from the seller to the buyer. And then we move towards close, preserving all of your liquid assets, your investment accounts, your 401k, your savings, wherever that was coming from, all remains completely untouched, which is music to my ears. So, with all that being said, if this is something you might be interested in and want to get started about this, here's all my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I am an open book when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think and have believed for a long time that the more consumers are educated about how the process of purchasing real estate works, the easier my job is. And if you think about that for a minute, and I've thought about it for a long time, it makes sense. It's a lot easier to work with someone who knows what they're talking about and knows how to navigate a real estate transaction than it is working with somebody who's never purchased a home before and has sort of never gone down any of these roads, sort of thing. So, anyway, I'll stop with the sales pitch. There's my contact information. Feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have about this. And if you'd like to get plugged in with the lender, we can absolutely do that too. Hope you're doing well, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Thanks for your time.